Mandarakam Niyatayami. Shudang Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Tsunam Ki Drola Penshir Sange Druparsho Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Tsunam Ki Drola Penshir Sange Druparsho Chudang Soki Choknam La Changchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Tsunam Ki Drola Penshir Sange Druparsho. I go for refuge to the Buddha Dharma Sangha till I achieve enlightenment, which might be tonight, right? If we're lucky. So, hello, new person. How are you? Good. So, you guys had 2 weeks and a lot of extra homework. Did anybody read the Jataka Tales? They're great, right? Okay, so do you want to tell me which one you worked with?
I worked with the merchant of Sufi,
Uh-huh.
merchant of, I can't remember the locale, but the 2 merchants
Yeah.
that were selling wares and buying wares. There's one merchant who tried to run a con,
Fleece the other, yeah.
and the other one who was quite upfront about the value that he was putting on.
Yeah, that was a really cool story. So how does that apply to any of our Lojong principles?
Well, it applied to, in my interpretation, it applied to putting the concerns of others before yours.
Yeah.
Liking and not liking things ignorantly, disliking things ignorantly.
Yeah.
And just in general, seeing this past appearances,
Mm-hmm.
seeing through appearances of this life.
Seeing through appearances. That's great. That's awesome. Yay, thank you. And how about you, Lori?
The timid rabbit.
Okay, the timid rabbit.
Thought the earth was falling apart, the boat fell down, he got scared,
Yeah.
started running, and then his friend ran after him, and he said, oh, the earth is falling apart, and then the next one came, and then there were hundreds of animals
Mm-hmm.
going, and until the lion stopped them.
Right.
What do you do? And the teaching I got out of that was don't accept anything as truth. Don't you exploring it yourself.
Nice. Very good.
That's all I could get out of it.
Oh no, that's plenty. You know, like it's the CNN moment, right? If CNN says X is happening, we immediately panic, even though it in no way is impacting our lives or affecting us that we can see. It still depresses us and scares us and does not empower us at all. So there might very well be a time when the earth is falling apart. You know, my nephew is going to work in Hawaii on the Big Island, and they just had a volcanic eruption. And I always thought of volcanoes as going poof like that, and ash and lava going like that. But this lava is going underground and then bubbling up, and it's like a mile away from town now. Yeah, so that's really an indication of like the world is crumbling. But you know, if there's nothing you can do about it that helps other people, then don't even bother watching the news. Don't even bother running with the crowd that's, you know, running straight to the lion. Yeah. How about you, Debbie? Did you read one?
Yes, I did. I read how the turtle saved his own life.
Mhm.
The king made a pool for his sons and put fish
Yeah.
in the pool.
Mhm.
And there was a
Yeah.
If you
Float
let it
down and
float down,
die.
and it would just die. And the turtle was like, why would you do that to me? Why would you do that? And they did it, and the turtle survived.
Yeah, of course, right?
So that deals with the 5 mental poisons about disliking ignorantly. The king disliked the turtle so much, he had to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, that is a very common type of ignorant disliking, is when you see someone you love suffering and you hate the thing that you think is making them suffer. So here's why that's doubly wrong. One is you cannot know what's making someone else suffer. You barely know what makes you suffer, right? So don't get caught up in other people's karma, right? So that's one mistake we make. The other is you don't know what lessons people are needing or seeking or getting out of something. You know, my main peeve in life, actually, in my whole life, is that my neighbors don't say hello when they pass me on the street. They don't smile and say hello. The whole neighborhood is like that. And this has vexed me for years. Like, these people are so impolite and so rude, and this is not how things should be. And I have a very dear, sweet friend who lives in Sweden. And I mean, she's sweet, give you the shirt off her back. And she came to visit last year, and she said, you know, there's something, you know, she went running in Manhattan Beach. And she said, there's something that people do here that I find very disturbing. And it almost makes me want to pack up and go back home. And that's that total strangers smile at you and say hello. And I don't know these people. And I was like, of course. Of course that's your issue, right? She was like almost in tears. And I was like, yeah, I get it. So, yeah, so the king is like, oh, something is annoying my son. I must kill it. And that's just so 2 steps of ignorant, right? So, and Brandon, you said you read some too?
I did the turtle who wouldn't stop talking. Wouldn't stop talking or something.
Uh-huh.
So it's like he's going on a trip with these birds, and the birds like grab a stick, and he has to grab the stick in between, and they fly off. And someone said something to him, and he felt so compelled to reply that he
Dropped
replies,
the stick.
but he lets go obviously the stick and falls to his death or whatever. I thought that was telling of this idea of self that we have, that we feel like we have this need to defend ourselves, like reply,
Yes.
and how that gets us in trouble a lot.
That is, it's interesting that you all chose different ones. That's really interesting. That's a great example of another thing that often gets us into trouble. And Geshe Michael talks about this, which is, even if you think you've gotten the lesson, like let's say someone gets angry at you and you don't get angry back, but you still feel like telling them, I didn't appreciate your tone or whatever. And someone asked Geshe Michael, like, do I have the right to do that? Is that okay to do? And he said, you know, it doesn't serve any purpose. If you've used a nasty tone with someone and it's coming back to you, do you want to stand in the mirror and point the finger at yourself and say, don't use that tone? And at the time, I felt so defeated, like there's no answering back. And then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, you're just wasting your breath. Answer back to what, you know? So, yeah, you fall to your death, right? You have to open your mouth and talk all the time, and it's pointless. Anyone else? That's awesome.
It goes also back to like right speech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where obviously words have power, so to just not be so carelessly with how you open your mouth.
Yeah, which is a great segue to something I wanted to talk to you about. We talked about the 10 misdeeds of body, speech, and mind. And a great place to start with keeping those ideals, like not killing, not stealing, not using harsh speech, not using divisive speech, is to start with yourself. So don't say negative things about yourself, right? Don't slag yourself. Don't put yourself down. Don't talk about how dumb you are and what a dumb mistake you made, Something that wouldn't sound nice saying about someone else, don't say it about yourself either. So when we talk about the 10 misdeeds, and at the break I'll put them on the board again to remind you what they are, a great place to start is just with you. And I encountered that too. Like I got scolded at work and I was really beating myself up and I wanted to go talk to people about it. And then I was like, people don't want to hear about me being scolded at work because then they'll feel bad. It doesn't bring people together. It doesn't make people feel good. So just be quiet. Okay, awesome. I'm super, super glad that you guys did that work. I'm super proud of you. And when you keep the idea of the misdeeds out of your life as a vow, as refuge vows or as lay vows or bodhisattva vows, it makes the karma even stronger than if you just do it because you want to be a nice person. And if, anyone who's interested in taking vows, please come talk to me about it at the break. They really are life transforming, life saving. And one thing that happens when you keep your vows is that it keeps you out of the hell realms. It keeps you out of rebirth in the animal realms. And it also gives you a fantastic vow book like the one that I made for Debbie. Come and get it. Hi, yay. Yes, thank you. Hi, ladies. Okay, so I believe it or not, I have almost no idea where I left off last week. It's been such an interesting process creating this class because I try to follow along Geshe Michael's set, but he is off too. So, the notes are kind of in between his class, and then I'm in between that. So if I repeat myself, just say, oh, you said that last week, and I'll move on. Did I talk about renunciation last week? Or 2 weeks ago? Okay, the line is, a person who is still attached to the three worlds has no renunciation. Yes. Sound familiar? Okay. The three worlds, so there are the three hell realms, the three lower realms, right? Animal, hungry ghost, and hell realms. And then there are the three realms, which are form, formless, and desire realm. The three lower realms are part of the lowest of the three realms, okay? So actually, I should put this on the board because it gets kind of confusing. So, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It can get confusing. So, we talked last week about the three lower realms, right? Can someone tell me anything I said about hungry ghosts? Yes. Yes, that's very true. But how do you get into that state?
By not being giving or
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So if you take your selfishness and magnify it a few lifetimes, that's how you'll end up as a hungry ghost, never satisfied. We're so close to that. Like, I heard that the iPhone 6 is coming out, and I was like, do I want the 4.5-inch screen or the 5.5-inch screen? Now, nowhere in that was I saying, oh, I might die before the iPhone comes out, and is this what I want to be thinking about? Or there are people starving down the street. Is this what I want to be thinking about? So we're real close to hungry ghosts already. Like never satisfied, always, like a small mouth, like small mind and a big stomach, right? Big ideas of what I want that's going to make me happy. We're going to talk later about this wrong notion we have about what's going to make us happy. Okay, so renunciation is simply giving up the idea that this realm is going to work out. It's not going to work out until you get out. And I know, Peter doesn't like the arc that I draw. Yes, you, Peter. I mean, nobody likes it, right? Everyone thinks that somehow they're exempt from the arc of desire. That their relationship's going to last, their job's never going to change, their kids are always going to love them, they're never going to die. Think about it. Think about it. So the world around you is actually the raw material for heaven or hell. So the thing that people get hung up on is hell being down there or heaven being up there. Heaven can be right here, right? And I guarantee you for some people it is. When I walked into Mahasukha the first time, you can go online and see pictures. It really did look like a hell realm. It was disgusting. And I went up to the Lama who had signed the lease and I said, oh, you've made a terrible mistake. Maybe you can go to the owner and get out of the lease because you've made a terrible mistake. And he goes, no, I think it'll be okay. We'll lay, hardwood floor and the lighting is really nice and we'll add some cabinets and knock down some walls. And he was right, like it's awesome. It is like paradise to me. And the fact that we get these teachings here and, so we have the karma to see it as something other than a mini mall storefront, semi-warehouse. And some people don't have the karma for that. So the raw material for whether something is going to show up as heaven or hell is in your world already. You just have to add your good karma to it to make it a realm of heaven, right? A realm of paradise. Okay, so we talked about animals, we talked about hungry ghosts. Something else I will tell you about hell is the reason that hell feels so bad to the beings that are there is because the notion of time is slowed down, right? So, if you're like me and you like roller coasters, 2 hours at Magic Mountain flies by like that. But 2 hours on the 405 feels like 16 hours on the 405. But, it's the same ticking clock. It's just how our perception is viewing things. So that's how it is in hell. Time is slowed way down, so a minute in hell feels like an eternity. I am very particular about being on time. And some of you who know me know that I'm a stickler about being on time. And one of the reasons that I'm this way is because I feel that one of our greatest negative karmic flowerings is that we are stuck in this realm of time. For Buddhas, they can see past, present, and future at once. Your suffering is over if you have that power, right? You already know the outcome. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be fearful because you're seeing the future and the present and the past all collapse together. So we don't have that power, which means that we have doubt, we have fear, we see ourselves getting older. So I try to be as careful with time as possible. I don't know how to manipulate the karma of time, but I feel that if I respect other people's time, if I'm careful with time and not wasting it, then maybe I will more quickly get out of this realm that's controlled by time. Any questions? No? Okay. So, Lord Buddha talks about hell in something called the Sutra Requested by Upali, Upali. And Upali was a common name. It's still kind of a common name in Sri Lanka for young monks. In that sutra, he says, people who die and travel to the lower realms don't even exist at all. So now that does not mean anything different than when we say projection, perception, illusion. It means that everything you see happening to you in the realms of terror are projections. The whole of it is only a projection, meaning that because of emptiness and your karma, you can get out of hell. You can get out of the desire realm. Right? That's a homework question. So the difference between us and a dog, right, is that the dog sees this as what? A chew toy. And we see this as what? A pencil. Now, there are beings on the planet that don't see it as either, right? Like, we had to be taught that this is a pencil. Before we were taught that it was a pencil, we might have seen it as a chew toy too, right? but so the dog is forced to see it as a chew toy, right? And that perception can shift in the blink of an eye. Like, we think of leaving this realm as like dying and, I don't know, like a long gap, and then maybe you get reborn as something else. But the shift is really very quick. And one way that you can actually think about it is to think about times when your mood has shifted very quickly. Like, one time my dad, my brother was studying abroad, and my dad flew him back and surprised my mom at Christmas. And the look on my mom's face went from like what regular ho-hum to like, you know, the world had completely changed like that. And that's how quickly you can transform. You know, like, a lot of things we think of as gradual because, again, we're caught in time, right? So we see our progression as very slow. Maybe we don't even see ourselves getting better at all. And then as your karma gets better, you not only see things changing quicker, but the negative things happening are fewer and fewer. So we talked several classes ago about this idea of the wish-giving jewel. Does anyone remember the notion of the wish-giving jewel? What was it?
That someone who seems to be mistreating you again, disrespecting whatever, is a greater gift than a wish-giving jewel.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
So perfect. If you had a wish-giving jewel, you wouldn't even know what to wish for, because we're pretty caught in consumer consumption world, you know? Like, it would be very difficult for any of us, and I appreciate your honesty when you said, yeah, no, I wouldn't be wishing for enlightenment if I had a wish-giving jewel. Yeah.
Then we wish for all-encompassing wisdom and compassion.
Yeah. Yes.
That's pretty good.
That's a great wish. And most people, even I, like, if a genie came out of a bottle, I would have to remind myself, like, oh, yeah, that's right. Enlightenment, that's right, you know. So I don't even know why I brought that up. Just to let you know that when, excuse me, when you have the opportunity to see yourself changing, grab onto it, pat yourself on the back. It's only later on down the line that you really get a chance to see, like, oh, I'm getting better. And, oh, the wish-giving jewel of someone screaming at me really does feel like a wish-giving jewel because it happens so infrequently. I actually had a situation at work on Tuesday where I almost got fired. And my boss was super, 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 super mad at me. And normally, like, that's the most terrifying thing because, you know, like, nobody really wants to be scolded or threatened with being fired. But I just took the criticism, and I apologized for you know, upsetting my boss, and explained, you know, my perspective. And at the end of it, she was like, "Thank you for being so gracious." You know, she was really disarmed. You know, a lot of people, they're fueled by your reaction. And I just didn't really give her any fuel. You know, I apologized, and what, you gonna keep yelling and screaming? And after that, I was like, was that me in there? So it really did feel like this notion of the wish-giving jewel kind of for the first time, you know, like, wow, I didn't answer back. I didn't make excuses, and no, this stuff works, you guys. Okay, so what's wrong with, this is an idea that I have, like what's wrong with really nailing this human existence and just coming back over and over again? It can get kind of fun. So someone tell me what's wrong with clinging to that idea. Dima. Someone named Dima. You will eventually fall. Anything else? Right? Yeah, you'll be suffering. You won't be helping anyone else, right? So how are you a bodhisattva? You're swearing to help other people and reach enlightenment for their sake, and then saying, actually, you know what? I've got this. This is great, and I'll help you as I can, but this is a lot of fun. So, it can feel that way, like especially if your practice is going well, your life is going well, then why stretch yourself? Like, this feels good. So you have to remember that even if you haven't taken bodhisattva vows, you probably have the desire for the wish in your heart to constantly be helping others. And that's not by staying here. Because the other thing that happens aside from you will suffer, you will fall, it's the suffering of change, right? There are three types of suffering. There's the suffering of suffering. That's a broken arm or a death in the family, or, that's like, that doesn't feel good. But the suffering of change is, I've got this great job. I mean, some of you remember when I got my job, right? This is a great job. It's the best job in the world. And then, and when they feed us, they give us money, they pay for your cell phone. And then it's like, I wonder if they're snooping on my cell phone. And, the food, I'm so tired of Thai day. Like, why do we have to have Thai day? And the work, they don't appreciate my hard work. I did the arc real quick. And it's the same thing with the relationship and the beautiful body. I read somewhere that Beyonce was jealous of Rihanna's body. And I thought, I looked up the celebrity net worth of these people. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. I was like, you could just go buy Rihanna's body, right? But it just reminded me of, like, no matter how much you think it's greener on that side, they have problems too. My sister has a client who's a billionaire, okay? Shouldn't have to worry about anything, right? But the gardeners are arguing today. And who's going to take out the trash if the gardeners are arguing today? And I remember thinking, that's not a real problem. But when you're in it, it is. It's as much a problem as someone else. Someone else's real problem. So the suffering of change is always going to get you, right? You will always have a situation. And what happens is you think that the situation has changed, but what's happened is your karma for enjoying the situation has run out, right? Either the thing breaks or it leaves, or you just don't enjoy it anymore, right? That's everything, your car, your relationship, whatever, your house. So if you think that coming back to this realm will be fun, remember that everything will cause you to suffer. Sorry. Okay. I read somewhere that in LA, the salary that you need in order to be happy is $80,000. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a lot. And I remember when I was a kid thinking $25,000 sounded like a lot. In fact, I remember living off of $1,200 a month when I was in grad school. Living fine, had an apartment and food and stuff. And it's not like my life's that much different. But I guarantee you that no matter how many zeros you put there, it's not enough, right? It's not enough to make you happy. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to quiz you. What is the main point that you've gotten out of Lo-Jong training thus far? Because we're almost done, right? Next week is the last week. Bravo. What's the main point of Lo-Jong training for you? Right on, right? Think of others first, okay? Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you. Can you decrease someone's storehouse of negative karmic seeds? No, right? Otherwise, we would all be enlightened by now. The Buddhas would have done that already. So, you know, when you vow to help someone, the main thing that you're doing is teaching them, right? You can't take their negative karma away. You can teach them the 4 forces. You can encourage them to come to class or listen to podcasts. You can help Brandon with the turntables back there. And I don't mean to discourage you, but this idea of shared karma or that's not how it goes. It's in it for their own lessons. That's why my friend from Sweden can say, I don't like it when you Americans smile at me, and I can say, why aren't my neighbors smiling at me? Okay, I'm going to give you another Lojong. This is called the 12-point Lojong. It's so beautiful. It's so awesome. The real meaning of the 12-point Lojong, the title, is Lojong of the 12 houses of the sky. What does that sound like? 12 houses of the sky. 12. What has 12? 12 months, which correspond to 12 astrological signs. Yeah, so the the Lojong of the 12 houses of the sky is in Tibetan. There are 12 celestial mansions just like the zodiac. So it describes 12 spiritual qualities or behaviors of people who have successfully practiced Lojong. All right, so we want to know what those are. People who successfully practice Lojong tend to exhibit these 12 behaviors. Number 1, they're trustworthy. You can count on them to do what they say. They don't let you down.
Is this actually correlating to
Zodiac sign?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what the Tibetan zodiac signs are. I don't know. These people volunteer for Dharma projects. They finish what they start, which is not easy. Let me tell you. I mean, I know that Lori keeps this place clean, and I know it's not easy because I tried to do it, and Andrew actually before me was better at it. But it seems like, oh, a little dusting, a little sweeping. Yeah, it's not easy. So people who successfully practice Lojong, one of the things they exhibit is that they're trustworthy. They do what they say. They finish their projects. Number 2, they are loyal. You remember the kindness of your teachers and your fellow students who've helped you, and if that person needs anything, you get it for them. You're there for them. So it's like intense gratitude bubbles up, so you should always be thinking about the people who have helped you on this practice. You know, when I'm online on Gmail, I can see that Geshe Michael is online too. And I'm always like just looking at his icon like, oh, what can I do to help him? What can I do to make his life easier? And just thinking those thoughts that's wonderful, you know? Acting on them is even better. So, loyal. Number 3, helpful. This is a little different from loyal. So helpful doesn't necessarily mean giving someone what they want, because sometimes that's enabling people, right? Like, I want a strawberry milkshake. That's not really going to help me, right? That's not going to help my health and not going to help me stay calm. So, you know, being helpful, you have to really be paying attention to what people need and what they don't need. Okay? That's number 3. Number 4 is they're friendly to everyone. It's funny, when I read this list, I was like, oh, that's not that hard. And then you think about that asshole that you're not friendly to, and you see how hard it is. It's hard to even think a nice thought about them, much less behave politely to them. That's what people who practice Lojong are. They are nice to everyone. Geshe Michael said, I asked him, or someone actually asked him at the last teaching I attended, like, what's the thing that keeps you up at night, that bothers you, that worries you? And I thought he was going to say, you know, like, keeping the ACIP, Asian Classics Input Project, keeping it going, because that's a job for a lot of refugees, and I thought it was going to be something like that. And he said, you know, really with a very sad look on his face, that it's when his Sangha doesn't get along, you know, and when people come to him and say, oh, she did this and he said that and they're so bad and da, 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 you know, like, it's like you're totally ignoring what he's teaching you, you know? So be friendly, even when it's hard. 5, they're courteous. They're sensitive to others' reactions to what they do. So that means you're sensitive to other people's reactions to what you do. This is super hard for me because I always think like you're responsible for your own emotions. If you don't like it, then you can get the F out. That is not a bodhisattva, right? Like it's just not. Yes, people are responsible for their own emotions, but people don't know how to do that. That's why we're here, right? If people knew how to be responsible with their emotions and their thoughts, they wouldn't need the Dharma. So making someone else, you know, carry the burden that they can't when you can, come on, like go the extra mile. Be courteous, be sensitive. Give up your seat, help carry stuff, hold the door open, stay at Mahasukha and do the dishes, ask Brandon if he needs help with tech work, ask Lori if she needs help keeping the place clean. I mean, human being 101 is to not leave trash around, right? We're stretching beyond that, okay? Number 6, be kind. You're the servant of others, you're at their command, okay? One of the greatest kindnesses you can do is to just listen to other people. Nobody wants to listen to others, and sometimes people just want to say I'm sad or I'm confused or I had a good day. Be that for them, listen to them. It doesn't cost you anything, a little bit of time. Okay, 7. This is an interesting one. They are obedient. You know, before I came to the Dharma, the idea of being obedient was not something that crossed my mind. Like, why would I do that? Like, obey why? Like, I'm a grown-up. So, here's the thing. It doesn't mean that you follow blindly. It doesn't mean that you put your own good sense away and let someone tell you to jump off of a roof. It does mean, especially if you've taken a Lama, or even if you're coming to these classes, you have invited someone who you think is wiser than you to guide you and to give you helpful teachings and principles. And even if you don't understand how it's going to work, you try it, right? And again, like, of course, you don't throw your good sense out of, you know, throw it away. But you have gotten yourself this far. You've gotten yourself through many lifetimes as far as you can get by yourself. So listen to the teacher, obey what they say. It can be very, very difficult and painful. You know, I would not be teaching here if my Lama hadn't screamed at me and told me that I had to do it. I wouldn't have Marut, I wouldn't have finished the homework. You know, I just didn't want to. But I knew that I wanted to be like her. And so if she was telling me to do this, then I needed to do it. And she hasn't been wrong yet. So, be obedient. Number 8, be cheerful. That means don't act grumpy. Work cheerfully for others. Don't complain and don't whine. This is not easy. It only takes one whiner to set up a whole room of whining. Oh, it's too hot. You should have seen me yesterday in the valley. I grew up in the valley, right? I love the valley. I did not last night. I was like, oh, inside is not air conditioned enough, and outside is not air conditioned enough. I was like, where can I go to be comfortable? Obviously not my own mind, right? So be cheerful. You know, like it was my sister's birthday, and you know, that only comes around once a year. So you can put your little whining for the moment to the side and put on paste a smile on your face. Like the day that I got yelled at by my boss, I literally had to like walk around like with a fake smile because I didn't feel like smiling. But I know that when someone walks by me and they're all grump-faced, Like, ooh, that doesn't help my day. Okay, be cheerful. Number 9, be thrifty. That means with this planet, do not waste the planet's precious resources. This is another thing that I had to reconcile myself to, because my thinking was, if I have the good karma to have flowing hot water, then damn the generations behind me. Too bad for them. But what if somebody the generations before me felt that way? And, like, of course you need to care about other unseen beings behind you. The resources that we have are finite, or at least they seem that way, so be careful with them. And here is an example. When you're in the shower and you're soaping up and putting on shampoo, turn off the water. Like, get yourself wet and then turn off the water. And then, like, right at the moment where the goosebumps come, you turn on the water. Oh, it feels so good. And you have saved 25 gallons of water. So try that tomorrow. Number 10. How long is this list? Right. Number 10, be brave. Be brave. Be brave in thinking about your worldview and your lifestyle. You don't have to subscribe to a specific lifestyle because you were born into it. Keeping up with the Joneses or whatever. You don't have to follow the same worldview as your parents or as your husband or as the person sitting next to you. That's why you have the brain that you have. David Bowie says, and I feel that we should quote David Bowie from time to time. David Bowie says that a good day is one in which he stretches himself. I think that's a really good barometer for a good day. So try to make that yours. Try to stretch yourself every day, whether it's giving to a homeless person or doing the homework or meditating 1 minute longer, getting on the yoga mat. There are 1,000 different ways you can stretch yourself, I'm sure, that you can think of. So try that. Try every day to stretch yourself. Even if it's something like taking a different route to work, exercising your gray cells. Try that. Okay. Number 11, be clean. That doesn't mean, that's not the opposite of dirty. It's the opposite of cluttered. So, when you become a teacher, you'll see this. You get more gifts than you know what to do with. You have more Buddha statues and incense holders and scrolls and fantastic, wonderful things that pretty soon they've taken over your whole house, and there's like a little path that you can walk down. And it's perfectly fine to enjoy things for a while and move them on. You will receive more gifts in this life than you know what to do with. And why hoard them? Why not share them with others? Or your collectibles, your magazine collection, your Oprah. My mom is getting rid of her Oprah magazine collection. I'm so proud of her. And I had been living alone for a while, and now I have 2 roommates. So I had to clear out 2 bedrooms. And I was like, what? First of all, how did all this stuff get in here? It's just snuck in little by little. And then, oh no, I can't get this up. And oh, I can't get that up. Stuff that I haven't really looked at since high school, some of it. So, you want to keep clutter out of your life, because the more objects you have, the more your mind gets distracted about keeping up with them. Okay, last one. Reverence. Your mind is carried away in the current of the Dharma. That's where your thoughts go. Like when you get distracted, it's because you're thinking about Course 12. Or do I believe this about karma? Or was that keeping my vow of not hurting others? That's how you want your mind to be, one of reverence, not one that you're constantly slapping down because it's thinking things that you don't like. Okay, that's the 12. You got the whole list, everybody? Okay. Ooh, we're cooking with gas here. So, here's another Lojong. It is awesome. This is the thing that I remembered most about this class. And this class has a lot of memorable stuff, this course. It's called The Wheel of Knives. Have you heard of it? No? Okay. Oh, okay. So the Wheel of Knives, this is described as a Vinaya practice. Anybody know what Vinaya is? Tiffany knows what Vinaya is. Ethics, that's course 9. It's what monks and nuns really study a lot. The word Vinaya means practice for taking the mind. For training the mind. But we translate that as ethics. So it's a sutra that presents the topic of karma and its consequences. Now, if you took course 5, karma was presented, and karmic correlations were presented. Like if you're greedy and stingy and whatnot, then the karmic result will be X, Y, Z. This Wheel of Knives does so in an even more specific way. And in the reading, there's a supplement that lists a bunch of karmic correlations. They're very interesting because they're not always intuitive. Like the one for sexual misconduct. The environmental, so the results are, how your next life will look, what your environment will look like, what your habits will be. So what your environment will be if you engage in sexual misconduct. Do you remember what it is, Dima? Right. You'll be your environment will be filthy, nasty. And at first I was like, that doesn't make sense. But then I thought, well, when you're engaging in sexual misconduct, you're sullying something that's supposed to be beautiful and pure and sweet. So the Wheel of Knives gives you very specific correlations like that. Okay. The author was an Indian named Dharma Rakshita, Rakshita. We don't know his dates, but we do know that he was a master of the Abhidharma teachings. And the Abhidharma Kosha is where we get our teachings on karma and other things. He passed it down to Lord Atisha. Who was Lord Atisha, Peter? That's better than a roller coaster. That answer was so beautiful. That was perfect. That's great. What did he do in between Tibet and India? Anybody? Yeah, go for it.
Stuck in Nepal. Stuck in Nepal.
He, not Nepal.
Oh, he went to
He took a 12 or 13 month long boat ride to Sumatra. Yeah. And I think he was there actually for like 12 years. Studying. Do you remember what he was studying? Anybody? Heather? No? Anybody? No? Bodhicitta. So he'd heard about teachings on bodhicitta, and he was like, oh, yeah, compassion and wisdom. I want to find this person who's teaching it. I can't imagine saying, oh yeah, I'm going to take a 12-month boat ride and hope to find someone who'll teach me about compassion. But thank goodness he did, right? So his dates are 982 to 1052. His students were who in Tibet? The Kadampas, right? The Kadampas, the first Buddhists that were there, right? They're the ones who wrote 200,000 texts, and they're the ones who turned into Galupas, which is what we are. Okay. So the Wheel of Knives is a phrase that represents if you do something to someone else, you get the same consequence back to yourself. And the story of the Wheel of Knives, I'll just go over it very briefly, is this young man, his father was a sailor, and he would leave home for several months at a time and then come back. And every time he left, the mother his wife was very nervous and scared, and one time he did not come back to sea. So as the boy grew up, he wanted to go to sea too, because all of his friends were going to sea. And his mom, he asked his mom once, and she said, "No, I really just want you to stay home." And so he obeyed her. And then a few years later, another group of friends they were going out to be seamen, and he asked his mom, and she said, "No, I want you to stay here. It's safer here." And so then his last group of friends a few years later was going out, and he asked his mom if she wanted to go, and she said no, and he got really angry, and he pushed her out of the way. She was blocking the door, and she banged her head, and he went out of the boat. And what happened? The boat was shipwrecked. He survived. He survived on this island, and when he came to, there were some maidens there who helped him survive, and he went on living life, and then he ended up once again finding himself hungry, cold, out, like no resources, faints, and is awakened again by another group of maidens. Reestablished back into life, lives his life, gets kicked out of his castle a second time, ends up back on the streets, and faints and awakens this time with this wheel on his head that's got knives sticking out of it that are sticking into his head. And the moral of the story is the first two times that he's rescued by these maidens represent the times that he listened to his mother and obeyed her wishes and was kind to her. And the third time represents how he pushed her out of the way and made her scared and hurt her. And with the realization of what he had done, he was able to take the wheel of knives off and see karmic correlations. Okay, so that's the story of the wheel of knives. Kind of a crazy story. So the people that bother you, they're the instruments. They're like the wheel that bring back the thing that you did, the irritating thing that you did. Okay, so I'm not going to go over the correlations with you because they're in the reading. They are fascinating though, and I just told you the one about sexual misconduct. There's a reference in the reading to a tantric deity named the Lord of Terror, who's also called Bhairava, Bhairava, and he's hideous. But the thing about this tantric deity that I'm going to share with you is that when you reach enlightenment, desire and anger don't actually leave you. It's not like you become a flat line, right? You are able, the whole point of your anger is that it is a super powerful tool. Like if you've ever gotten angry, if you can remember back to the last time you were angry, your focus becomes like a laser, right? There's no distraction. You are super focused on the thing that's pissing you off. And the same thing with desire and love, right? So it would be great if we could harness that energy and use it for something that would help us, right? And I'm going to tell you in a second how we can do that. I mean, with love, it's easy, right? Compassion is super obvious how you can use that to help others. But anger, like how do you use that? So that's the reference that he's making to Lord Bhairava. Does anybody know the sort of rumor about peacocks and why their tails are so colorful? No? Not you? Okay. Oh yeah, Tiffany. single act. One is you're going to continue to do it. So doing something once sets you on a path of habituation to doing it over and over again. And if you have ever had, say, a Dorito, you know how that works, right? But seriously, like as soon as you blow up at somebody, it just leads to the tendency to blow up at somebody. Number two, you'll be reborn in a lower realm. If you commit, so if you commit negative acts, these are all negative karmas, right? Then it's very likely that you are putting yourself on a path to lower rebirth. Number three, this is for sexual misconduct, okay? Here's the direct correlation to misbehaving sexually. You will lose the person in your relationship to someone else, okay? Because you've not respected someone else's partner, okay? That's the tendency if you engage in sexual misconduct. Number four, as Dima said, you will live in an environment which is polluted, dirty, and smells bad. And when I first read that, I was like, that's very specific. But you've been in neighborhoods that are dirty and smell bad. And I remember asking Lama Cliff, like, are all these people adulterers? And he said, you only have to worry about you. And you know that you don't want to be in a place that's dirty, polluted, and smells bad. So, behave accordingly. Okay. Every bad deed you do has similar results. You're always going to have four that are like this. Going to go to a lower realm, going to be more likely to commit it in the past. Your environment's going to be jacked up in some kind of way, and you will have a direct result of your behavior. Stealing, someone's going to steal from you, that kind of thing. So let me give you another example of the difference between causes and conditions. So let's take a backache. The condition is the loss of cartilage and the vertebrae are rubbing on each other, right? That hurts. What's the cause? Is it my football injury? No. It's like not taking care of someone's body, right? Like maybe not giving someone something to eat when they were hungry, not giving someone a place to sleep when they needed to. That's going to result in your football injury leading to a backache. If it was the football injury, this is how we talk about causes. Every football injury would lead to a backache. And there are some people who've played football who don't have bad backs. There are some people who have bad backs who've never played football.
What about someone like a nurse who's constantly got...
Oh, you don't know any nurses. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we talk about policemen too? But what about like people who are in the healthcare field?
Yeah.
Who suffer bad backs?
Yeah.
How does that correlate?
So I'm going to tell you something, a radical thought that I have about karma. Don't tell anybody. So the party line is that's coming from a past life, right? Like if you're innocent of wrongdoing in this life and something negative's happening, it's karma that's descending on you from a past life. I have always been suspicious of that. Because how is it helpful if I don't know the action that I did for which I'm being punished? But that's the wrong way to think about karma. So here's my radical idea. I believe that karma is a corrective measure for your benefit, right? If you pay attention to whatever the karmic ripening is, good or bad, you'll learn from it and either discontinue a certain type of behavior or continue a certain type of behavior based on how this result made you feel. So if you believe in karma, whether you know what it was, this one act or several acts of a past life that you did, you know in this life, or if you have these teachings, know, one way to feel better is by helping others feel better. So what happens is maybe your cartilage doesn't grow back, but for some reason it doesn't hurt you the way that it might hurt someone else, right? Like why the spectrum of pain tolerance, some people have, like my mom like never takes pain pills, and I have like a tiny little and I have to have Advil. So why is that? That's karma. That's how it's working with people. Is this nurse who's on her feet and her back is hurting, maybe she needs to think about what's in her mind when she's caring for people. How is she caring for people at home? You know what I mean? Like, you just see her on the 4th floor of the hospital. That doesn't tell you what's in her mind. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so correlations. Like I said, there's not much you can do about the condition. Karma is going to find a condition for this to ripen on you. It is going to. Are any of you guys Twilight Zone fans? So do you remember the episode with Robert Redford? He plays a soldier. So there's this old woman in this apartment. And a soldier gets shot outside of her apartment. It's during World War II. It's a long time ago. And you hear him calling for help. And he's like, help me, help me. And she's like, I can't let you in because I've been avoiding death. And if I don't let him in, I won't die. He's like, lady, I've been shot. I need help. So she lets him in, and he's so beautiful, and they have a cup of tea. And he's like, why don't you get out? You're so, this building has been condemned, and the war is going on. You're not safe. And she says, oh, no, because I don't want death to get me, and so I just have to stay inside. And then she finds out that he's death, right? And she's like, oh, no. That's karma. It's going to get you no matter how much you shut yourself inside, okay? The only way you can escape karma is by purifying it or letting it flower, okay? So, in the Wheel of Knives, Dharma Rakshita goes for 25 pages of like, such and such happens and the Wheel of Knives turns on me again. And it's him experiencing karma, right? And not getting it. And then finally on page 25, he's like, I know who the real demon is. His exact words are, wait a minute. I'm getting all these bad karmic results because I'm cherishing myself and I don't understand emptiness, right? Self-cherishing is what makes it a negative karma, right? Oh, my back. Oh, I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt, but you whining about it doesn't help it, right? You may be thinking about someone else, makes you not focus on your back. And if any of you were here and listening to Tammy and Morgan last Tuesday, they talked about how they live in a valley where a train goes by every 4 hours. And sometimes they hear it, and sometimes they're focused on something and they don't hear it. I have a chiming clock at my house. It chimes every 15 minutes. But sometimes I think it's broken. Because I swear an hour has gone by where I'm studying and it has not chimed. And I know that's not true. So that's what this business of self-cherishing is if you can get out of like, oh, woe is me, or oh, I'm so great, almost all of your negative feelings fall away because you're not focusing on yourself. And then the other aspect is understanding emptiness. Just try to get an intellectual understanding of it, right? Just keep working with it. Keep meditating on it. You can use the example of my unsmiling neighbors versus my Swedish friend and people smiling too much. That's total emptiness, right? Is the same smiling people or unsmiling people, right? Okay, so the real demon is my selfish mind and my ignorance. That's what he realizes after 25 pages of setting up these karmic correlations. I did this in the past, and I did that in the past, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Well, like the old lady in the Twilight Zone, you can lock yourself in your house, but if you don't understand emptiness, and you don't understand that you need to stop cherishing yourself, karma's going to come get you anyway. So, this is where the tantric deity, the frightener, Bhairava, the Lord of Terror, this is where he comes in. You get super, super pissed off at your self-cherishing. You take your anger, which you know is right there at the surface anyway, and focus it on your own ignorance and destroying it. And that feels like not saying, oh, I'm so stupid, I don't get it, or I yelled at someone again. It's taking laser focus to your ignorance, which is forcing you to react in a way that you don't like, and saying, I got your number, you're not allowed here. It really is like practicing, it's like training a dog. No. So my sister's birthday was Sunday, and I was in charge of getting the cake, which brings me great joy. But I had messed around, I went to get a sandwich, and I messed around so much that they called me, and they said, we're about to close, and you have this cake here. And I was like, oh, I'm 1 block away, I'll be right there, I'm so sorry. I turn, I'm literally in the alley, almost to the store, when a car coming towards me and a car in front of me stop, and the people start talking to each other. And I'm like, what the F? Get the F out of the way to get the cake. And I'm honking, and they're like, whatever, oh, da, 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 da. And I was like, if I have to get out of this car, there's going to be trouble. And then I realized, oh, yes, there's going to be trouble. I'm going to go straight to hell. All my teachings, all my great merit, all my store of good karma will be out the window if I throw my vows away to tell someone to move their car. And I, honestly, as soon as that thought came to me, they were like, bye, and drove away. So you take your anger and focus it where it needs to be, which is on your own stupidity, on your own ignorance, and your self-cherishing. That's where the frightener comes in. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about how karma is carried in the mind stream. Anybody know what the mind stream is? Yeah, so it's the thing that goes with you from lifetime to lifetime. So if we're talking about this notion of past lives and karma I'm bringing with me from my past lives, it stays in your what's called mind stream, okay? It's like a tape recording of your past deeds, good and bad. And it leaves imprints, which is how you see yourself, right?
We in mind only right now?
Yes, we are in mind only. But you know, even Prasangika thinks this, like all the way on up. We know that we have some type of recollection of our past deeds, which creates our self-image. You know, like if I see myself as a liar, it's because I've had the tendency to lie, right? And it just leaves this little like mark on my mind stream. They're powerful enough that they create your karmic projections. So your past, that's when we say your past deeds create your world, that's what we literally mean, is your past deeds have formed so that, you know, if you have been wonderful with keeping your garden up and keeping the street clean, you probably live on a street with manicured lawns and that kind of thing, you know? If you have painful emotions, that's caused by what? I mean, like, this has been the same for 8 weeks, right? If you have psychodrama in your life, is that like a genetic condition because your mom was bipolar or because you married the wrong guy or what? Those are just the conditions, right? The cause has to be on you. The good stuff too, like we focus on the bad stuff, but all the good stuff is on you too. Like you're here. It's awesome. Okay, so why would you suffer from having a bossy manager at work? Like, what do you think the karmic cause is for a bossy boss? Being arrogant and looking down on people. You know, the people who are arrogant don't know that they're arrogant because they're not thinking about anybody else, right? it's a vicious circle, and you see how it gets repeated, and it becomes a habit. So look at the kind of boss you have. It's great. If you don't have a boss, then look at that. But look at the kind of boss you have, and it's a very good mirror for the kind of person you've been with others. How about unpleasant speech? It's not enough to say, oh, if I'm hearing unpleasant speech, it means that I've shouted obscenities in the past, or cussed somebody out in the past, or yelled and screamed, or been, used harsh words. You also have to talk about the antidote, or think about the antidote, because that's the thing that separates the Buddhist path from every other path, is that you actually have work that you can do to, move yourself along. So, okay, someone just cussed you out. You recognize that you have used harsh speech in the past. Now, what's the antidote for this not continuing? Don't yell back. Don't use bad speech towards others. And this is an interesting thing that's written in the scripture. If you're gonna say bad stuff, it can only be about the bad stuff you've said in the past. Right? So to get out of the vicious circle of saying bad things and having bad things said to you and over again, you can just kind of badmouth the past bad mouthing as ignorant, like when I say, oh, that was an ignorant thing to do, or that was not the right, that's not who I want to be. That's the kind of only way you can use these negative behaviors. Okay. If you see anything unpleasant in your life, it's because you have not practiced seeing this world as pure. Pure doesn't have to mean, as Lama Marut says, lapis lazuli on the floor, and jade lawns and amethyst trees. It means that you see it as a sacred, holy place that you enjoy spending time in, right? If your world isn't that way, here's the antidote. See the silver lining in every unpleasant thing. By now you have a lot of practice, at least in theory, right? Every car accident, boss yelling, kid not talking to you, whatever, there's a silver lining there, and that should be your first instinct, is to find it. And that starts to transform your world. It starts to transform it just logically, because if habitually you're automatically seeing the good in everything, then pretty soon all you're seeing is the good. It just happens. It's not even magic. It's just logic, right? There's a guy. His name is Kristen, and I don't remember his last name. I'm sorry. It's not a guy. It's a woman named Kristen, who used to be a guy named Chris, who was a Navy SEAL. And you can imagine what it's like for a Navy SEAL to transition his gender, right? Like, probably wasn't met with a lot of support. And so people have asked her, do you wish you could have transitioned when you were young, and then you wouldn't have had to go through all that you must have gone through? And she says, no, because that made me who I am. It's made me more compassionate to other people who are going through things. It also, I saved people's lives when I was a Navy SEAL, So that's kind of the attitude you want to have also about once you start getting realizations about your past actions, sometimes it can be very heavy. Like, oh, I've wasted time, I've done so many bad things, or I'm not advancing, how am I ever going to reach enlightenment? Just think about all you've had to go through to get this far. Even in this life, everyone in this room has had to go through a lot. Okay? So that's an antidote to seeing if you don't see the world as pure, then try to see the silver lining and not the regretful side. So how do you fix the wheel of knives? It might not happen overnight, right? Like, even when you identify the karmic correlation to the thing that's bugging you the most in your life, it might not happen overnight. But if you are very strict about it, and the reading tells you what the antidote is, if you're very strict, for instance, about protecting others' relationships, protecting your own relationship, eventually your neighborhood won't be smelly, your partner won't have a tendency to cheat on you, you know, your karma starts to clean itself up. Okay, that's how you fix the Wheel of Knives. So, we have one more assignment, which is the volunteer assignment. So next Wednesday, I'm going down to Monday Night Mission downtown. You're absolutely welcome to join me. I'll send you all the information. Lori has been, Dima and Heather have been. It is fantastic. If you want to do something else, that's fine too. It's 4 hours was the requirement. It's not optional. I mean, even if you haven't done your homework, do this assignment for yourself, okay? 4 hours of volunteering. If you have no idea where to go, give me a shout on email. I've got a long list of places that could use 4 hours of smiling volunteer. If you're interested in learning more about retreat, Dimitri has offered to talk to people about it. So talk to him. If you're interested in vows, let me know. Be brave. Become a warrior. What else? Homework. This week's homework is homework 7. So you can skip question 1 in the homework and the quiz. Geshe Michael is coming to town on Halloween. And, is that right? No, I'm sorry. He's going to be in town November 7th through November 9th. Sorry. He'll be in various parts of LA. Check. That probably won't be on the Mahasukha website, so if you're interested, then just let me know. He will be teaching in Phoenix on Halloween through the 2nd of November. I feel like I'm leaving something out. Oh, yes, and next week is your last class. I'm very proud that you've made it this far. You should be proud too. Come wearing comfortable clothes next week because Rebecca Stanley, who's the head of our yoga department, will come and teach us some heart-opening poses, yoga poses. Nothing strenuous, you know, but there are some great things. You can literally feel your heart opening up. Okay? Peter wanted to say something about an upcoming awesome event.
Yeah, it's kind of early, but it's really not too. Every year we have a fundraiser. We call it Bliss Fest, and there's auction. There's an auction. There's entertainment. There's food and drink, and it's a good way to get together and hang out with your brothers and sisters, and also raise money for the auction. So there's going to be a bunch of positions. Heather and I are producing it, and there's going to be a bunch of positions that we're going to try to fill. People to greet people at the door, people that work on the food table, people help preparation for food. It's a big job. So it's probably maybe one of the more bigger ones that are related to Mahasukha. So if you want to help out in some way, just contact me or Heather. Otherwise, we're just getting started. We're just starting to get organized, but there's nothing like being prepared, well in advance. So rather than wait till another week or two, I believe I'm not sure if the date is totally committed. I believe we're going to have it earlier this year, the last week of November. So it's 15th? Yeah. So that's about 9 weeks away. So we have to get on it, and I'll be sending out an email to everybody showing you what openings we have for future advancement in the Mahasukha rides. So if you can find it in your practice and in your life to help out, that would be great.
So Bliss Fest is our annual fundraiser. It is a great way to thank donors. We have an auction. It's so fun, and lively performances. And, please come. Please invite your friends. It's great fun, great way to get a jump on holiday shopping if you do that. and a great way to give back to Mahasukha.
Is it here?
It's here, and volunteering at it is so fun. I think I won't this year so that I can see how unfun it is to not volunteer, just to see. Okay, any questions? I can't believe I'm letting you go early. Yes.
Not a question or statement. Homework.
Yes. You have an awesome free grader. Let me tell you something. When I was taking classes, we didn't have a grader, so I don't have any certificates because you can't get a certificate if your stuff's not graded. And then someone came along with the bright idea of having a grader because, you know, the teachers weren't grading. They didn't have time. And then people started getting certificates. So you have a grader here. I take advantage of it because I guarantee you what's going to happen is a year from now, your teacher's going to tell you you have to do the homework. And you're going to say, why didn't I do it when I remember this stuff and when I had a grader? So I actually have the karma of seeing you not do homework because I didn't do homework when I should have. Anyhow, so next week's the last week. We will do the last class, and if you have any questions about the course, bring them. If there's time, I'll go over the final with you, and Rebecca will show us some asanas, some heart-opening asanas. Any questions? Yeah.
Next week's our last class, and the following week, Monday, we'll write it.
You'll do the final, yeah. Okay. Woo woo. It's a middle way course that my Lama's going to teach, and it's on mindfulness. It's so next week's the last class. The week after that is the final. Then a break, I believe, and then the next middle way course. And Lama Marut is the one who's written the middle way curriculum, so they're super interesting. All right, press. Debbie? Yeah, okay. We're doing the prayers. Puki jukshing metok tram, rirabling shin yende yempadi, sangye shingdu mikte uwargi, droku namdak shingla chuparsho. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Chu Sukhi Choknam La Changchu Bardu Dakni Kyabsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Tsunam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Druparsho Chudang Sukhi Choknam La Changchu Bardu Dakni Kyabsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Tsunam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chudang Sukhi Choknam La Changchu Bardu